you have a 95% chance of regaining the weight that you release on any diet, whether that is the vegan diet or that is fasting or juice fasting or the carnivore diet or counting your macros. You have a 95% chance of gaining all that weight back within the first year. I mean, it almost makes you feel like, what's the point? Why should I even go on a diet? And here's the thing. Are you ready to bring your dream body and health into life, but just can't seem to keep the motivation going? And is it finally time to address the self-sabotage and the unwanted eating behaviors, such as binge eating, emotional eating, and nighttime eating that are getting in the way of your goals? Do you ever wonder what it would take for you to feel in control of your rituals so that you can stay consistent and see results? Welcome to this week's special Make Peace with Food Minisode on the Fall in Love with Fitness podcast, where you'll learn how to overcome unwanted eating behavior and other self-sabotaging habits by shifting your nervous system so that your body works with you instead of against you. I'm your host, Sherry Shaban, and with each episode, I am honored to be your coach and guide in the journey to make peace with food and find food and body freedom so that struggle with weight is a thing of the past. When you tune in every Thursday on the Fall in Love with Fitness podcast, you'll catch the latest conversation on unwanted eating behaviors and how you shift your nervous system, rewire the brain to new patterns, and end the food and body obsession so you finally feel relaxed and no longer confused around food. Now, I want you to stick around if you're tired of dieting and food restrictions that never seem to stick. You experience anxiety and overwhelm when it comes to food, what to eat, and when to eat it. You feel so confused about what you're supposed to eat. You're ready to end the food obsession and constant worry about weight, which never seems to help anyway. You want to learn how to eat to release weight for good without dieting. Now, before we begin, I want to quickly invite you to grab a free copy of my Food Freedom ebook I have for you at makepeacewithfood.com. And if you find that this conversation resonates with you today, then maybe consider sharing it with someone you know who may need to hear it too. And if you feel called, then I also want to invite you to join our free Make Peace with Food Facebook community at myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com. Again, that's myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com, where you can connect with me and my team directly. All the links are in the show notes. Okay, one super quick thing that I want to share with you before we begin. I'm about to be super vulnerable here, and I'm going to share with you something that you probably don't know about me. When I was running CrossFit gyms 10 years ago, it was also the time in my life where I was struggling desperately with food. On the outside, by the way, you would never know it. It looked like I knew a whole lot on nutrition and health, and I was interviewed on radio and on TV all the time about it. But on the inside, I was secretly confused, anxious, and feeling guilty all the time about food. All the time. I remember this one visit to Toronto to see my brother, and we were doing the usual rundown of the list of foods that Sherry eats and doesn't eat this time. And sometimes that good list included carbs and grains, and sometimes it didn't. Sometimes it included fats and legumes, and other times it didn't. And sometimes it included animal protein, other times it didn't. The list was always changing. So were my food rules. So was the good and bad food list. And that's the first time my brother pointed it out to me. Sherry, I've never known anyone so obsessed with food. Oh my God, it struck me like a ton of bricks. He was right. I had developed a disordered relationship with food, and all in the name of health and fitness. Here's how it used to look. Monday to Friday, I would meal prep, eat super clean, depending on that week's food rules, of course. But then come Friday, what would first begin as a cheat meal would turn into a full-on annihilation until I felt sick to my stomach. And one thing I'm going to tell you about the health and food industry after 25 years of working in it, besides it being a $103 billion industry, by the way, is that they lead us to believe that the solution to our eating and weight loss struggles is somehow out there. And we just have to find it, because if we're able to find it, we'll finally solve all of our problems practically overnight. And that's the biggest lie we've ever been fed, pun intended. Because the true reason behind your struggle with weight and binge eating or emotional eating or even nighttime snacking is your nervous system, not your discipline or knowledge of nutrition, and not even the food itself. What I've learned personally from my struggles with binge eating and how I've helped thousands of people transform their bodies into fat burning machines without dieting and over exercising is that your body is always in one of two modes. It's either fat burning or fat storing. It's either in usage or storage mode, essentially. And all of this has to do with one main thing, your nervous system, which affects your cravings, your emotions, your appetite, your hormones, your metabolism, your gut health, what to do with the food you eat, and even self-sabotage. Which is why, even though you know what to do, you can't if your nervous system is locked into what I call protection mode. If you've been struggling with weight and eating behavior despite your efforts, it's not your fault. It's because you're in protection mode. When you understand how the nervous system works to either get you to store body fat or release it, your diet is no longer about balancing calories in and calories out, but instead, it's about regulating your nervous system. So you get relaxed around food, you abolish the cravings, and then sit back and watch the weight practically release itself. By shifting your focus away from what you're eating and onto how your body is feeling, you get your life back and your health back. And I'm going to be teaching you all about this on January 27 to 31 during a 5-day masterclass I'll be giving, and it's called Rapid Release, the 4 techniques for permanent fat loss and food freedom. And after this week together, you're going to understand how your nervous system has been affecting your cravings, your hormones, your gut health, and even your metabolism. And more importantly, you'll be walking away with how to start shifting it right away so you abolish the cravings, you feel relaxed around food, and you begin to see your body and health transform. It's completely free to join, and you can register at sherryshaban.com/rapid release. Again, that's sherryshaban.com/rapid release. And just in case you may be wondering, well, Sherry, now that you're anti-diet, how's it been going? Well, I don't count calories, weigh out my foods, or track macros. I don't overthink my food anymore or obsess about protein. My social events and relationships are way more relaxed and enjoyable. I make pizza from scratch every Friday night, and I've chilled out a whole lot on my intense training sessions. I'm also, by the way, arresting 15.4% body fat. And so as you prepare this new year, I want to invite you to re-examine your goals. If you've set up major New Year weight loss and diet goals, maybe this year you can open yourself up to a new approach. Instead of tracking how much you're eating, shift your focus onto how your body's responding to the foods you're eating, how it's affecting your energy, your appetite, your cravings, your mood, your sleep, your poop, and your emotions. And then begin your fine-tuning from there. Again, if this resonated with you today, I want to invite you to join me on January 27 for the Rapid Release Masterclass, where you'll learn the 4 techniques for permanent fat loss and food freedom. Registration is completely free, and go ahead and register today so that you don't forget. And then you can mark it on your calendar as well and follow that link to sherryshaban.com/rapid release. Again, sherryshaban.com/rapid release. You're going to find that link in the show notes as well. Now remember, if diets actually worked in the long run, why would we need to keep dieting? All right, now let's get into it. When I read these statistics, I was like, well, what's the point? I mean, you have a 95% chance of regaining the weight that you release on any diet, whether that is the vegan diet or that is fasting or juice fasting or the carnivore diet or counting your macros. You have a 95% chance of gaining all that weight back within the first year. I mean, it almost makes you feel like, what's the point? Why should I even go on a diet? And here's the thing. The reason why people regain their weight back is not because they don't know what to do. And it's not because they don't have motivation or discipline to continue to follow the things that they've learned. I mean, let's face it, we all get up and go to work, we take care of our kids, we are so responsible in all the other things in our lives. So it's clearly not that. But here's what it is. The reason why people regain weight back is because they have been using food to medicate. They've been using food to self regulate. And what I'm talking about today is regulating the nervous system. Because the reason why we actually binge eat or emotionally eat, or we find ourselves nighttime snacking or compulsively overeating is because we use food to cope with whatever difficult emotions that we have a hard time handling, including boredom. And the brain does this thing where it creates an addiction anytime we teach it that there can be a reward on the other side of overcoming a painful experience. Every single decision that we make as humans psychologically moves us away from pain or discomfort and moves us towards pleasure. But when we actually are able to use a substance such as food or alcohol or drugs or even shopping and sex and get the message in the brain that hey, when I have discomfort, when I'm feeling uncomfortable, this one thing gives me instant pleasure, and not just instant small amounts of pleasure. I'm talking about large amounts of pleasure. And so palatable foods like salty foods, fast foods, sweet things, all the processed foods that are very tasty, that give us a lot of high energy, the body recognizes that as the best reward for anything that we feel is uncomfortable for us. And so the reason why people regain their weight back after the first year is not because they didn't know what to do. It was because when a life event happened, when they felt the discomfort, when they felt that they were in that painful situation that the body couldn't handle, didn't know what to do with the emotions, they turned back to that medication of choice. And generally, that was food. So we go back to those old patterns when we don't know how to regulate the nervous system. And that's exactly what I want to teach you. Because if you know how to regulate your nervous system and you understand how to regulate from protection mode to what I call safety mode, which you may know as fight or flight or sympathetic nervous state, to parasympathetic, which is rest and digest, and you know how to do that through using very simple techniques, through understanding how your thoughts create your emotions, through understanding how to use your physical body to actually reverse that instantaneously. When you know how to do that, you no longer need to use food to self medicate or to self regulate. And that is what this masterclass is all about that I'll be giving on January 27. That is next week. So on Monday, January 27, I will be giving a 5-day masterclass where I will be sharing with you these techniques to help you shift your nervous system. Now, the registration is right here in the comments, and I get it. If you can't make it live, we're all super busy. I will have the replays available for you. You'll just have to register so that I can send you that replay link. And if you do join me live, it's going to be really cool because then we can do some spotlight coaching and I will share with you the techniques live. And there's something so delicious and magical about being in that live energy that I would love to share with you. So again, the registration link is right here in the comments. I can't wait to see you there, and get ready because next week, this whole conversation is going to change everything that you have ever learned about dieting and about restricting and about having to white knuckle through anything. You're going to learn how to shift your nervous system. And when you do that, the cravings stop, the nighttime eating stops, the emotional eating stops, the binge eating stops. You feel way more relaxed around food. And then it starts to get super fun how you can start to shift the way that you eat to really find what feels best in your body. And you just create your own blueprint that looks very different than anyone else's. And you start to have that food freedom and stop thinking about food all the time and your weight all the time and feel super uncomfortable if there's a vacation coming up or if there's a holiday coming up. You just get to live life day in, day out and have food just be a part of the experience and not the complete experience. So I can't wait to teach you that. One more thing before you go. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while and you're aligning with the message, then I want to personally invite you to join me in Costa Rica next May 24 to 31 for Transformation in Paradise Empyrean Retreat. And this is all happening at the Blue Osa in Costa Rica. And this is guaranteed to be the most transformative week of your life. This is going to be a small group experience with exclusive access to the entire Blue Osa resort. So imagine waking to the sound of the Costa Rican rainforest musical every morning, starting your day with a yoga practice overlooking the Pacific Ocean, joined in with howler monkeys, daily walks on a private beach that goes on for miles, macaws flying overhead all the time, spa treatments at a 5-star resort, and the best farm-to-table food ever, right from the Blue Osa farm itself. Now, this retreat is specifically designed to reset your nervous system. And when you reset your nervous system, you stop the patterns of self-sabotage and overwhelm. You reignite your motivation. You release any addictive habits and you open yourself to the health, relationships, and financial abundance that you deserve. Intrigued yet? Curious? Let's book a call to find out if this retreat is the right fit for you. Just head on over to sherryshaban.com/retreats. And on that page, you're going to find a place where you can book a time with me there. Plus, if you rate and review this podcast, giving me a 5-star rating on iTunes, and then taking just a moment to send the screenshot to sherry@sherryshaban.com so I know who you are, you're going to receive the voucher to join me as early bird. And you're going to get $400 off to join. So remember, this group is small and the spots are limited. So let's find out if Empyrean is right for you. Thanks for listening to this week's Make Peace with Food Minisode on the Fall in Love with Fitness podcast. If this has resonated with you today, I want to invite you to subscribe to the show so you never miss a beat. And if you know someone who could benefit from this conversation, then please share this episode with them too. Let's work together to help as many people as possible make peace with food and fall in love with fitness. And by the way, if you rate and review this podcast on iTunes or on Spotify and send over the screenshot to sherry@sherryshaban.com so I know who you are, you'll be gifted instant access to my 6-week habit challenge. Don't forget also to visit myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com to join the free Facebook group for more resources. And remember, you are an inspiration. I can't wait to hear your story. See you next time.